Hare Krishna, friends. So we're going to study verse 35 and 36 today. I'm going to ask you for your patience. You may hear a little bit of banging. Neighbors are making some noise, and there's not much I can do about it. It's a very lo-fi situation. I'm just basically sitting in my room making these videos. We've been going pretty light. The last two verses were light. These two verses are pretty light. And that's because verse 37 is really a major verse. It'll probably be 2 videos. It's a lot of very deep and heavy philosophy, and we got to pick our battles. So take it easy. These are nice verses, very mellow, and get ready for verse 37. Okay, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, my dear friends. So this is one of my favorite verses, verse 35. I just love the way it's written. It's very mysterious and very just cool in the description, the ontology of Krishna. The verse goes, Eko pyasya rachitam jagadanda kotem, yat chaktarasti jagadanda chaya yarantaha. Andantarasta paramano chayantarastam govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. And so it starts, Eko pyasya, who is one, although the person is one. So Krishna is one, Eka. Rachitam, but they create Jagadanda Koti, millions of universes. Yakchaktir, and whose person and their Shakti are not separated. So Krishna is one with themselves, their Shakti. They are one whole thing. And Shakti would mean energy or their potency. And you may wonder, again, which we've talked about in the past, why is this Yakchaktir and not, as it says here, Yat Shaktir? Because in Sanskrit, like in English, we have what's called sandhi, where words are changed to sound nicer, like it is it's, should have, could have, could have. And so we change the beginning and ending of words to put them together to just sound nicer when we speak them. So Yakchaktir is Yat Shaktir. Asti Jagadanda Chaya Yarantaha, which means Krishna is one with his potency, his Shakti, and even though millions of universes are created by him, and you would think that would like break him down, like, taking one pieces from him. No, he's complete in himself. And all the universes exist within. So Krishna is one in all universes. Jagadanda, Chaya Yarantaha, Antaha, inside. And then this says Andantarasta. So Paramanu Chayantarastam. Super nice. Adantarasta. So all the universes are everywhere, scattered throughout. Though they're within Krishna, Paramanu, supremely small, which would be an atom. Chayantarastam. Krishna is situated, complete, in every atom within the universe. So, Krishna is one with his energies, complete and full in himself. There's no lack. And from Krishna, millions of universes come. But all the universes are within him, and within every atom in all the universes exists Krishna in complete full. How beautiful is that? And then Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So there's a very beautiful story in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Krishna, who is a little child, he's playing the part of a human, he is within the arms of his mother, Mother Yasoda, and she has breastfed him, and she does not know that he's the supreme, absolute truth, nor does she wish to know. She wants to love her child, as all mothers would. You wouldn't want your little baby to all of a sudden be some absolute divine universe creator. You want to hold your baby and love your baby. So she's holding Krishna in her arms, and at some point Krishna yawns. And she sees within Krishna's mouth the whole universe. And she also sees within his mouth herself holding Krishna, looking in his mouth. And she becomes very confused, shakes her head. She doesn't want to see that. That's not her mood with Krishna. She wishes to love Krishna as a mother. How sweet is that? Okay, so we're going to read the translation by Bhaktisiddhanda Saraswati. He is an undifferentiated entity. In other words, he's one. He's not separated. As there's no distinction between potency, or Shakti, and the possessor thereof. He is his potency. In his work in creating millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. Doesn't become diminished. He doesn't become separated by making universes. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in full in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord who I adore. How cool is that? How beautiful is that? Okay, so now we're going to read Bhaktisiddhanta's purport. It's very short. Krishna is the highest of all entities. In him is an entity which is termed Chit spiritual, which is distinct from the principle of limitation. Krishna is supreme. He is Chit potency. He has Chit potency. They're not different from him. And it's separate from his material energy. By his inconceivable power, he can, at will, create numberless universes. So, at his will, he can create unlimited universes. All the mundane universes owe their origin to the transformation of his external potency. Means, in a very poetic way of saying, all the universes in the material world are created by the material energy. Again, his abode is beyond human conception. Since all worlds, limited and spirit, Chit, exist in him, and he resides simultaneously in his fullness and entirety in all the atoms in all the worlds. All pervasiveness is only a localized aspect of the majesty of Krishna, the Lord of all. Means we think God is within everything. God is everywhere. Yes, but this is kind of a very limited understanding of God. Let alone is God in everything and everywhere. All things come from God. God is within them, and they are within him. Though he is all-pervasive, yet in his existence everywhere, in a medium shape, consists his spiritual lordship beyond human conception. So what he's saying is that though Krishna is everywhere, in all things, the absolute, the supreme person within all atoms, his natural form is that of a beautiful, young, flute-playing boy, Krishna, medium shape. This argument favors the doctrine of simultaneous, inconceivable distinction and non-distinction, and knocks down the containing Mayavad and other allied doctrines. So Bhaktisiddhanta, it was very much of an arguer, very philosophical, and this idea that all is one, everything is part of the absolute, and there's no distinction between the soul and Krishna, he argued against and said that it's simultaneously one and different. And even Krishna is simultaneously one and different, which means all the universes are within Krishna. Krishna is within all the universes. And at the same time, Krishna maintains his own individual entity, his own identity as Krishna, simultaneously one and separate. Very beautiful. Hare Krishna. Okay, friends, text 36. Yad bhava bhavita dio manujas tataiva samprapya rupa mahima sanayana bhushaha suktaryam eva nigama pratitai stuvanti govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. This is a pretty straightforward verse. It says, I adore the same Govinda, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, who is the primeval Lord, in whose praise men who are imbued with devotion sing the mantra suktas told by the Vedas by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, that would be cars or some kind of plane, and ornaments. So let's go through this purport. In discussing rasa, and so now rasa is mood. Just in the previous verse, I was talking about Mother Yasoda, how she looks at her child Krishna, who yawns, and she sees the whole universe, but she shakes her head because she doesn't want her child to be the supreme person. She just wants to love Krishna as her child. And so rasa means that relationship that we have with divinity. Who is God to you? A friend, a lover, a child? Are you the servant? Are you neutral? That relationship is called rasa. Okay, so we'll start again. In discussing rasa, we meet with 5 kinds of devotional service. Shanta, or unattached. And this would be like just the yogi who's in just meditation, meditating on Paramatma, or Brahman, who is just present with divinity, is not having any kind of relationship, but is just present. This is called Shantaras. Dasa, or pertaining to reverential willing service. And dasa means a servant. Someone who wants to serve, and God is more of like godly, unreverential, like Vishnu. Most religions in the world very much have this das relationship where God is the father and we are the servant. Sakya, or friendship. Many people feel that God is their friend. And there's a lot of wonderful stories of Krishna and his friends. Vatsalya, or parental love, like Mother Yasoda who wishes to love Krishna as her child. And Shringhar, or juvenile love, the feeling of just love with Krishna, like you just love Krishna. Like when you were 12 or 13 and you just had like a crush on somebody. You weren't sexual, you weren't lusty, you just had a hard crush on them. You loved them. So the gopis have love for Krishna. Now, these verses have been pretty light. We haven't gotten too into it. The next verse is going to be really intense. It'll probably be 2 videos, and we'll get into that later. But that love that the gopis have for Krishna is actually pretty intense, but it's not mixed with sexuality. So that's why he has here juvenile, prepubescent love. Okay, the devotees surcharged with the ideas of their respective service serve Krishna eternally and unlimitedly reach the goal of their respective ideals. They attain the real nature of their self befitting their respective rasas, their glories, conveyances, which means like a car, seats befitting their sacred service, and transcendental qualities of ornaments, enhancing the beauty of their real nature. Those who are advocates of Shantaras attain the region of Brahma-paramatma, the seat of eternal peace. And this would be somebody who's looking to merge, become one with divinity. And that space where you're just aware of divinity is called Shanta. And so that's a goal you would attain. Though that's not permanent, but we can talk about that later. Those of Dasa, go to Vaikuntha. And so if you remember, between the material world and Goloka, there's a space, and that's Vaikuntha, where Krishna appears as Vishnu, very on-reverential, and you engage in service as a servant, a dasa. Those of dasa ras get to Vaikuntha, the spiritual majestic abode of Narayan. Those of Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya attain Goloka, Krishna's abode above Vaikuntha. So, Brahma, Paramatma realization is actually within the material sphere. It's not outside of this material world, because it's not actually devotion. It's really a state free from material engagement, which would be suffering. So no suffering is not actually spiritual. So you are in a state where you're witnessing, participating in a like a neutral state with divinity, but really your goal is no suffering, and that's not really spiritual. So Sakya, and this idea of merging with God or meditating on God in the heart is still within this material world, so it's not permanent. Dasya, or service, where you serve God as the supreme. This would be like Judeo-Christian heaven, where it's heavenly and God is there and we're serving God with prayers. And that's between the material world and Goloka, if you remember the map. In Goloka, that's where you're friends with God, Sakya. That's where you are a parent of Krishna, Vatsalya, and that's where you are in love with Krishna as a like a lover of a gopi girl, and that's called Madhurya or Shringar. Here, Bhaktisiddhanda is calling it Madhurya. Here, he called it Shringar. Krishna's abode above Vaikuntha. They worship Krishna by the suktas depicted in the Vedas, with the ingredients and objects befitting their respective rasas in those regions. The Vedas, under the influence of the spiritual potency in certain passages, speak of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. The liberated souls chant the name, qualities, and pastimes of the Supreme Lord under the guidance of the same spiritual potency. So, depending on the rasa, the relationship you have with divinity, then mantras are given to you, service is given to you, and all the paraphernalia is offered to you to do such service. And that's about it. Very interesting verse. Okay. Hare Krishna.